West African secret societies are the foundation of the retention of African culture in America. Let me say that again. West African secret societies are the foundation of the retention of African culture in America. So I kept asking myself, how in the world did they remember all these traditions we just talked about with no book? Nearly all Africans brought to America as slaves came from West African societies where community cohesion was firmly ingrained and supported through a network of secret societies. Within this structure, men and women were taught the religious, social, sexual, and ethical mores of their communities. Social cohesion was enforced and order throughout the society was established. Knowledge was passed on and cultural integrity maintained. Separate secret societies existed for men and women. There were severe consequences should the secrecy be broken. While many secret societies dotted the landscape of West Africa, there are two who are the largest. Poro for men, Sandy for women. These societies were almost universal features in coastal West Africa. Participation was mandatory for all men and women who lived in these areas where the Poro and Sandy existed. A description of the Poro and Sandy secret society sets the stage for a clearer understanding of some of the antecedents of African American culture. Secret societies, or bush schools as they were known because of their location, served as training centers for boys becoming men and girls becoming women. We ain't do no circumcision to no damn Abraham. There was initiation rites. Each society was strictly divided by gender, membership determined largely through the reaching the age of puberty. For most Poro societies, as exemplified best by the Mandi culture, it is the blacksmith who is the great one and whose job is sacred. It was the blacksmith with his knowledge of herbs and medicine and his status in the community as a revered elder who performed the transforming rite of circumcision. As the blacksmith bends, molds, and transforms the iron he also symbolically transformed young boys into men. No Abraham there for circumcision. Now, here's the history of the societies. This is the book. You should get it. In the Company of Black Men. Simo and Oro were the oldest indigenous West African organizations. The warrior priests carried them from Guinea and Nigeria to Angola. Their warrior priests carried them from Guinea and Nigeria to Angola, and manipulated the power by spurring kindred associations. From 1100 to 1500 AD, Mandi traders and smiths spread secret societies along the commercial routes of West Africa. By the 17th century, societies were the repositories of the folklore, the myths, the history, the conceptions of art and culture and learning and wisdom the tribes possessed. Moreover, they became the teacher of these things, the only teachers, right? F.W. Buck Thompson. So this is how our culture got here. This is how we know who we are. So I put that forward because I wanted to set the stage for this and how we always dealt with these specific societies, which were not really secret. That's what the European calls it. They was just initiation rites. Negro Election Day is a festival that began in 1741 in several towns of New England as part of the local election of the black representative of that community. The festival incorporated aspects of West African culture and ritualistic celebrations such as traditional dancing, African feasting, and parades. These rituals had strong echoes of West African ceremonies, particularly the Apo ceremony of the Ashanti tribe of Ghana. Oh, wow. I can't even see that. You can pause it for a minute? Black governors and kings. Black kings and governors in America, 1741 and Negro Election Day. A black king of New England, Nero Brewster, introduced a bill to gain his freedom to the General Assembly in 1779. It became law 234 234 years later. Historians identify Nero as one of the 31 black kings and governors throughout New England from about 1750 to 1850. An African essence to the office of king or governor within the black community of New England is suggested by the election of many leaders with strong connections to the old country. Both King Pompey and Lynn and Prince Robinson of Nagasat were African-born of royal lineages, while Governors Tobia and Ibn Tawwas in the 19th century, Derby, Connecticut, were the grandson and great-grandsons, respectively, of an African prince. Basically, this holiday is a holiday that we took over from the Europeans, and because this day was allowed for us to come together, we organized ourselves in bands according to the nations and sung our songs and practiced our African tradition in front of them while we was trying to get free, both physically and trying to use politics. This next celebration is called Pinkster. This, again, fits the same prognosis. The Dutch colonists brought this celebration to the settlements in the New York era during the 17th century. However, this holiday evolved over the subsequent decades into a primarily African-American holiday infused with the African Bantu culture of Congo and Angola. The holiday became a chance for northern enslaved and free families to reunite and experience a brief sense of independence, as well as share and pass on important African traditions, especially those born in North America. Blacks were forming according to their nations. Such nationhood did not allude to Pacific African ethnicity, but to associations of blacks formed on shipboard or in the Americas. Most common in Latin America, nations were associations of people from similar African cultural areas who typically came together to bury the dead, conduct festivals. In a large celebration such as Pinkster, when the whole African community might assemble, blacks divided up by these nations, which served otherwise as rooted to marry, self-help organizations, and even as a government. The book African American Emancipation Celebration of 1808 to 1915. This again is similar to how we utilize the Catholic Church and use their saints to hide our orishas. By doing that, we was able to preserve our culture. We took over their actual festival and used it for our benefit. Now, dealing with the Pinkster Festival, especially in New York, we was able to get together and we was able to really plot out what we wanted to do. Again, Obeah in New York, Peter the Doctor. On New Year's Day, September 12, a Chromantian Pow bond service recently imported to New York conspired to be free. The Reverend John Sharpie, chaplain of the English garrison, wrote that the Africans tied themselves to secrecy by sucking the blood of each other's hands and acquired invincibility from a free Negro who pretends sorcery and gave them a powder to rub on their clothes, which made them so confident. Again, we was in Jamaica. You see the same thing there. You see it in Africa. You see it in North America and the Caribbeans. Several months later, Governor Robert Hunter recounted the events in a letter to the Lords of the Trade. On March 25th, these Africans drank and plotted further in Manhattan Tavern. 25 to 30 enslaved Africans joined in the blood oath with 2 Spanish Indians and a free person of color. The Boston newsletter claimed that the most of Manhattan's Africans had prior knowledge to the plot. At about 2 a.m. on April 7th, they met at an orchard in the middle of the city with guns, swords, and knives. So this is what the African culture made the people do. All right. Obeah again in New York. Nothing to do with the Hebrew. They ain't calling on Samuel or whoever this guy was talking to. This is the book, Rivers Flow on Black Resistant Culture and Identity Formation in Early America. New York, 1741 conspiracy. The events of 1741 had a distinctly African pattern. Sarah Hudson's daughter and William Kane, an Irish soldier, both testified that Africans regularly came to the Hudson house, where they often drew a black ring on the floor into which the participants placed their left feet. A bowl of liquor punch was held above their heads. vows were taken, and the drink was then consumed. The Huxians and the Africans performed ring ceremonies more than once in the months before the plot was uncovered. At least 3 secret societies operated within the larger group of conspirators. 2 of the chief plotters came from a criminal society, a confederacy of Negroes that once sported the tag Freemasons. Wait a minute, Freemasons, 1740? 2 African gangs at either end of Manhattan were to start the insurrection. As laid out, the Smith Flyboys were to burn the east side of the town, while the Long Bridge Boys torched the west. Already mustered into companies with captains, the Africans were to take those fires as a signal to burn their owners' houses and kill the masters in chaos. This is what the African culture did. And this is a reason why there is laws today that bans the practice of obeah in Barbados, I believe still in Jamaica. This was a big deal to the European. A 1748 account restated Horseman believed that the leaders of the 1741 conspiracy were conjurers who subordinated others with their fantastic claims and threats. During the investigation of the 1741 conspiracy, groups of militarized Africans were again menacing New York and Long Island, and the African gangs were active across the region. In the scholarship on West Africa, gangs and criminal associations are secret societies when they embody religious or political opposition to a ruling regime. So when somebody takes an oath, or when if you become a gang member, these oaths mean something. And these oaths touch the person's heart. Again, African culture in the Americas. Folklore. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but again, I just showed you how the culture got here. Tales out of Africa, Bear Rabbit, Sister Nanny Goat, and others were characterized in Wolof, Hulsi, Fula, Fulani, and Mandingo folklore transported to the New World. Other West African tales, such as those involving tricksters' hair, were also introduced. The hare rabbit stories also can be found in parts of Nigeria, Angola, and East Africa. The tortoise stories are found among the Yoruba, Igbo, Bini people of Nigeria. Other examples of folklore come from Israel. Psych, the word ain't there. It ain't there. You know what I'm saying? So we keep moving, but so you know this is the source of that. I just don't have a PDF. I don't have a PDF for this. So I just had to snapshot the book. African ritual dance. Dance is a part of folk tradition. Enslaved Africans maintained continuity in their music, song, and dance cultures, as well as in their religions that influenced those cultures. As they adapted to life in North America, many African dances survived because they were reshaped and adopted by European Americans, while others remained intact or changed with the new circumstances. For example, the ring shout started as a sacred Congolese dance, but later found expression in non-sacred dance. In both Africa and the New World, the circle ritual meant different things in different cultures. In the Congo, the ring shout circle is identical to the Gullah counterclockwise dance, which is linked to the most important African ceremony rites of passage. Among the Mandi, the circle dance is a part of the marriage and birth ceremonies, and in Wolof culture, the ring circle is central to most dancing. The Bambula and the Kalinda variations of voodoo dance became popular forms of dance expression in early New Orleans. The cakewalk and the Charleston traveled from Africa to become integral to American dance forms of the American plantation. African culture in the Americas. Where is the Hebrews? This book, you can get it on Kindle. Rituals of Resistance. African Atlantic religion, Congo, and the Low Country South. Talking about here in the era of slavery. Enslaved Africans used conjurer bags to heal the sick, harm enemies, reveal the unknown, protect themselves from the brutalities of slavery, and achieve countless other aims. They resembled Congo M.G.C, and that they served as a focal objects of a rather large network of ritual beliefs and practices. W.E.B. Du Bois suggests that complexity and multiplicity of these ritual networks when he described the conjure doctor as the healer of the sick, the interpreter of the unknown, the comforter of the sorrowing, the supernatural avenger of wrong, and the one who rudely but personally expressed the longing, disappointment, and resentment of a stolen and oppressed people. My favorite book again. I spelled voodoo wrong. Don't kill me. Voodoo in the South. The voodoo tradition was strengthened and reinforced by the free and enslaved African community of New Orleans. It is important to note that the practice of voodoo in New Orleans is not the purest manifestation of voodoo as it was known in Dahomey. Also, it is not the same religious system that is observed in Haiti. Voodoo in New Orleans is a mixture of Dahomey religion, Congolese tradition, and some parts of Native American spirituality. New Orleans voodoo lacks some of the gods and traditions that exist in Haiti. New Orleans voodoo operates under a matriarchal system that is governed by voodoo queens. Voodoo in New Orleans also considered of root work and gris-gris or juju. People would seek out conjurers or other spiritualists for spiritual intervention or protection in their daily affairs. These favors range from those concerning love to political influence. Although most workers used their powers for positive forces, there were some who did not. It was probably the work of this small percentage of people that was sensationalized by people outside of the religion. The aspect of the religion became known as hoodoo and is often the basis of misconceptions that public society has about voodoo. Gullah culture, same book. Margaret Washington, author, for example, links slave conversion in the Low Country with initiation rituals found among Africans of varied ethnicity throughout West Africa, Windward Coast, including Sierra Leone, Liberia, and Senegambia. Washington argues, moreover, that the stamp of West African secret societies can be discerned at each stage of the Christian conversion ritual. Indeed, in the slave South, the black people organized themselves into black societies resembling the Poor and Sandy initiation societies of Sierra Leone. These black societies were like their African counterparts, units of organization that regulated conduct and served to integrate individuals into the plantation community. Within those societies, gullahs practiced their own version of Christianity and created their religious folklore. Congo Square. Origin of jazz. In 1724, the French implemented Côte d'Ivoire in Louisiana territory, which gave enslaved people Sunday as a day of rest. Enslaved people used this day to congregate to remote public places. These gatherings included singing, dancing, and religious ceremonies, including voodoo dancing and vocalizations. Spanish rule of Louisiana from 1763 to 1802 relaxed Côte d'Ivoire and allowed enslaved people to set up markets, sell food, and exchange goods. Congo Square, Louisiana, African culture in the Americas. Now, we're going to get to freedom. We're going to get to how we utilized our African culture to be free. Underground Railroad, African language, encoded in quilts. I don't see no Hebrew here. This is a woman, Miss Azala McDaniel Williams in Charleston Marketplace among her quilts. She holds a wall hanging of the bear paw pattern, a reference according to the code to follow the tracks of a bear through the mountains. The tradition of encoding secret signs and textile designs, mostly done by women, continued in the New World, where remembered African signs were combined to create new, unique, creolized symbol systems. Examples include a Brazilian cloth embroidered with designs called points from a Yoruba god Ogun, and Suriname caps embroidered by women with designs derived from a maroon script called Africa. Whoa! The Maroons got a script. It's not Hebrew. It's Africa. Which is based on Nsibidi signs from Nigeria. Cuban Abuka society costumes are based on Nigerian ones, with light and dark squares to represent leopard spots and vow religious principles. Haitian voodoo flags are decorated with sequins arranged in vague VV signs, which refer to various remembered Yoruba and Fan gods. Continue. So if we look at this cloth here, the Uraka cloth is a combination of geometric and figurative designs in a dark color on a light background made by the Igbo people of Nigeria. This cloth belongs to the leopard secret guardian society. Some of the geometric designs include the checkerboard, the pinwheel, and the hourglass. The figurative designs include the crocodile, the serpent, the blacksmith tools, the hand of God, and Sibiti symbols. Within many geometric patterns and figurative designs, the Ukara cloth resembles a quilt top. Scholars believe the patterns and designs have meaning known only to members of the society. Now, Kozilla told us that quilt made of a monkey wrench patterned blocks was the first of the 10 quilts displayed as a signal for slaves who planned to escape. She said that monkey wrench quilt was a signal for the slaves to begin their escape preparations by collecting the tools they thought they would need on their journey north. The monkey wrench, also called the double monkey wrench, is one of the several 19th century American quilt patterns named after a trade or occupation. Others include anvil, circular saw, carpenter's wheel, carpenter's square, square and compass. The monkey wrench pattern is celebrated for its striking simplicity and arrangement of rectangles, right triangles, and squares. The pattern name conjures images of a heavy metal tool, a craft, strong, knowledgeable hands. The monkey wrench turning the wagon wheel implies that the wrench, whoever or whatever it might have been, exercised authority over the wagon wheel. The monkey wrench had to be a person or a group or people, an organization perhaps, who had access to the plantation, was familiar with its daily operations, and knew the physical layout of the plantation as well as the surrounding land. This monkey wrench had to be a regular fixture on the plantation. So we're going to see what that look like. So there's your quilt. Monkey wrench quilt as displayed in the Frederick Douglass House in Washington, D.C. It's right there. See it. The monkey wrench to the crossroads. There are 5 square knots to the quilt every 2 inches apart. They escaped on the 5th knot on the 10th pattern and went to Ontario, Canada. The monkey wrench, the wagon wheel toward Canada on a bear's paw trail. African culture in the Americas. Where are the Hebrews? Again, this is a display of a log cabin quilt airing in the window of a slave cabin. This quilt is hidden in plain view. That's how it would have looked. This one, flying geese pattern. In this example, the 4 sets of triangles point in 4 different directions, moving clockwise from top right to bottom. The triangle point north, east, south, and west. The fabric selection in this example distinguishes the triangles in the upper left-hand corner, promoting a western direction. Alright, we can wrap it. Peace, family. Thanks if y'all tuned in, and thanks for the side letter letting me come through. What I showed and proved today, without a shadow of a doubt, no complex, no E1B1A, no none of that. I showed you the Africanisms in America. Pay attention to this thing right here. We're gonna put this slide back up. Remember this slide. Intangible cultural heritage. Intangible cultural heritage includes oral traditions, performing arts, social practices, rituals, festive events, knowledge and practices concerning nature and the universe, or the knowledge and skills to produce traditional crafts. I just showed and proved how we are Africans. I just showed and proved how all of those cultures I just described, we were able to retain that without having no book. The Hebrews need a Bible. They need that book. They need the scriptures to guide them. We never needed that.